As I was leaving Chipotle earlier today, a random individual slammed the door on me for no reason at all. The door hit my arm on the glass portion, and he turned around while I was walking to my car. He just started staring at me and didn't take his eyes off me for even a second. He started breathing heavily, and I sensed that something had upset him, though I doubted it was me. I chose to leave the situation and walk toward other people so he would look like the unreasonable one. Did I do the right thing? I forgot what he said, but I confronted him and asked why he slammed the door on me. He didn't respond and went into another store. Story 1. Any confrontation you walk away from is a win. That person was clearly unstable, and you are morally superior for not engaging in their childish attempt to provoke a conflict. You did not sink to their level, and you are not harmed or arrested. Continue living your life and enjoy being yourself. Story 2. Walking away is the best way to win any fight. I am a master martial artist, and I always support walking away. This problem does not need to be yours. Story 3. If there's nothing I need to fight for, I'm fine with them thinking they won by intimidation. Story 4. I haven't been in a fight since the possibility of jail time arose. I'm not interested in that at all. Story 5. It's better to walk away. It sounds like a complete stranger you may never cross paths with again. It's not worth the trouble and drama just because someone was rude. Story 6. I am a physically large male. I have practiced jiu-jitsu for years and now I engage in bodybuilding. I know I am stronger than 99% of the population. I know how to fight, and I always choose to walk away. Whenever you have the option to leave, it is best to do so. You never know if someone has a weapon or might use excessive force when you are incapacitated. There are certainly times when fighting is necessary, but if you can escape unharmed and without involving law enforcement, it is a victory. The one time I reacted physically was at a friend's college house party. A guy who was not part of my friend group but lived there challenged me to an arm wrestling match. He lost, and out of embarrassment, he slapped me. In response, I lifted him off the ground and across his own countertop by his chest and neck, then let him go. Sometimes it is necessary to assert dominance, but you can also make your point without escalating the situation. I could have easily overpowered this individual, but I chose not to. Story 7. Stay calm. Keeping your cool can help de-escalate tension. Take deep breaths and try to remain composed, even if the other person is being aggressive. Avoid escalation. If you sense that the situation is heating up, try to defuse it by avoiding confrontational language or actions. Sometimes walking away can be the best option. Set boundaries. Politely but firmly assert your boundaries. You can say something like, "I don't want any trouble. Let's just leave it here." Seek help. If you're in a public place, seek assistance from authorities or staff. They are trained to handle these situations and can help keep things under control. Story 8. In any situation that is about to escalate to physical violence, the first question you should always ask yourself is this worth going to jail or dying for? If the answer is not a resounding yes, then de-escalate immediately. Appearing tough in front of strangers is not worth jeopardizing your life. Story 9. In a fight, many things can go wrong, even if you are the more skilled person. It is always best to avoid combat unless you have no other options. Story 10. A street fight can escalate quickly. It's best to avoid one whenever possible. Unless you are acting in defense of yourself or another person, it serves no purpose. Injury, jail, death, and lawsuits are all possible outcomes, and for what ego? Story 11. I'm telling this story as a caution, not for attention. I was walking downtown at night with my brother-in-law to get some drinks. As we walked, we noticed two men in their mid-20s walking in the same direction. Something felt off about them. Ahead of us, a man in his late 30s was approaching. One of the younger men elbowed him toward the road, prompting a reaction from him. Next thing we knew, the two young men were beating this man while he was on the ground. I was fired up because they were looking to harm a random person. I was ready to intervene, but my brother-in-law grabbed me and pulled me across the street. For reference, I'm 5 feet 10 inches tall and weigh about 150 pounds. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall and about 210 pounds, all muscle. We discussed it afterward, and while I was prepared to step in, he didn't want to explain to his sister why I might have gotten arrested, ended up in the hospital, or required backup from him. It was definitely the right decision in that moment. I felt bad for the older man. Additionally, my brother-in-law recognized the two younger men. They are known for causing trouble and are considered total burnouts. Not worth anyone's time. Story 12. Bro was looking for a fight, which means there was a high chance he was concealing a weapon. If he started losing, he could pull it out and seriously hurt you. You made the right call. Story 13. Don't mess with Florida man if you can help it, no matter what state he is in. If you can't help it, then you fight like you are the last rat on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain. However, too much can go wrong in a fight, so there's nothing wrong with walking away. Story 14. I would carry mace because if he charged at you, you can use it and get away. The worst-case scenario for wrongly using mace against someone is not severe, a fine and a misdemeanor. Sincerely, a firearms and self-defense instructor. This is not legal advice. Story 15. If you can avoid a physical confrontation, that is a victory. It may not feel like it in the moment, and it might take time for it to seem like a win, but it truly is a win. Story 16. You handled it very well. Next time, do not waste your time seeking an explanation and focus on your day. Remaining unbothered seems to frustrate those who are trying to disrupt you even more. Take satisfaction in that. Story 17. As a Canadian, I would have said, thank you. As a 6'1" large Canadian, I would have said, thanks. Story 18. He was looking for someone to argue with. The fact that you didn't give him what he wanted made him even more upset. Story 19. It may have been the right choice for you. I would likely have chosen violence, but I am from Generation X. It also doesn't hurt that I am a large individual. Story 20. Avoiding escalation is the best course of action. He was clearly looking for a confrontation, and it is uncertain how far his instability might have led the situation. Story 21. Consider that you could be spending this time in a hospital or police station, depending on how things unfolded, instead of consulting Reddit. Walking away was the right decision. Story 22. The right thing to do is to walk away if you can. In a street fight, people can easily die if their head hits the ground in the wrong way. Story 23. If he did nothing else besides slamming the door, I would yell something and then walk away. However, if he did anything extra, like attack me, intrusive thoughts would kick in. Story 24. You did the right thing. It is not worth the potential consequences to you, such as your safety or the safety of others. Let karma take care of him. Story 25. If you can avoid a fight or confrontation, then do so. You gain nothing from confronting someone who is clearly mentally unstable. What is the best outcome if you confront him? He might apologize, but that is generally not worth much, especially since chances are he won't. Even if you get into a fight and win, you still lose, as you could be charged with assault. Even if you beat the charges, it is not worth all the headaches over something trivial. Story 26. Any physical confrontation you can avoid is beneficial. Even many trained fighters will agree. You never know when someone might be unstable and have a firearm or weapon. Additionally, anything can happen in a fight, and you could easily end up hitting your head on the pavement or experiencing another incident that could result in serious injury or death. Story 27. Yes, you did. Avoid physical confrontation at all costs unless he poses an immediate danger to you and your family. Story 28. It's not worth getting arrested, injured, or worse because of someone you don't even know. You did the right thing. Story 29. You should always try to avoid conflict. Fighting is a last resort when there are no other options. Story 30. Unless he starts swinging, ignore him. It is better to avoid someone who seems to be under the influence. Story 31. If it were non-physical, I would go about my day. If there were a threat of physicality, I would be more assertive. If he hit me by slamming a door into my arm, I would confront him in some manner. I would hold the door open for the next person leaving while staring at him the entire time, or I would ask him what the problem is. Often, people are angry and tend to back down when confronted directly. Story 32. Always walk away from dangerous individuals. I lost a friend to one who was shot in a road rage incident. It's never worth the risk. Story 33. Unless you have dealt with violence and know how to handle yourself, avoiding trouble as you did was the right thing. I would have said something, especially if I were with someone and it happened to them. Story 34. No, I would have just annoyed him further by staring back without getting angry. I would have stared with a blank expression. Story 35. Walk away whenever you can. It may feel bad, but it is much better than getting into a fight over trivial matters. People can fall, hit their head on the ground, and suffer serious consequences from a single punch. This can lead to criminal charges, and even if you win, it is still a difficult situation to navigate. This does not mean you should avoid fighting when it is necessary, such as when protecting yourself or loved ones. However, for minor issues, it is best to just walk away. You are making the right choice. Story 36. I would have done the same thing. I would say, "What's up, dude? You all right?" If he walked away, I would do the same. If he had a legitimate story about how life is tough right now, I would sympathize. If he got aggressive, I might escalate the situation. But it worked out. Story 37. Yes, that's the right decision. You cannot engage with every difficult person you encounter. Otherwise, there will be nothing left of you. You may end up just like them. Story 38. De-escalation is always the best approach in a conflict, and walking away is the first and most effective option. A random fight with a stranger can escalate quickly for many reasons. I would have done the same as you. Story 39. Unless someone else is in physical danger without your intervention, or you are cornered with nowhere to go, it is always best to walk away. Story 40. Some people have difficult lives and feel they have nothing to lose. It is not worth lowering yourself to their level, although it can be challenging to maintain your composure at times. Story 41. I just shared this on another forum. I have 3 black belts and decades of training. Every single one of my instructors has always said that getting out of a fight is the best first move. You nailed it. You didn't have to endure getting hurt for over 30 years like I did. Story 42. Some people look for any excuse to start a conflict and escalate it as much as possible. Sometimes, when there isn't a reason, they create one. It is wise not to engage with such individuals. Legal consequences alone provide ample reason to choose your battles carefully. You could end up facing charges if you defend yourself. This consideration goes beyond ethics and personal safety. You cannot always know if the person seeking to confront you is armed. This is why it is crucial to choose your battles wisely. A physical altercation with a random stranger is never worth it. You might never encounter that person again, and what they did today will not matter tomorrow. Story 43. If the person is much smaller than you and is acting very tough, it makes me think they might have a concealed weapon. Story 44. My rule of thumb is that if someone gets in your face and starts threatening you, it's time to stand your ground. Anyone who has the courage to confront you with violence needs to be put in their place. Story 45. You made the right decision. People can get harmed over trivial matters like this every day. It's always best to keep moving forward and avoid engaging with difficult individuals. Story 46. You're thinking about this incorrectly. You won the fight. Considering the potential bruise on your arm, if you had engaged in a fist fight, you would have bruised knuckles, possibly 1 or 2 solid hits to recover from, and potentially a lawsuit on your hands if he got injured in a serious way. If you lost to him in a fist fight, you would face all those consequences plus possibly 3 or 4 additional solid hits to recover from. Now that you've weighed the pros and cons of each scenario, how did you not win the confrontation? No one is going to say you lost by not engaging with someone unstable. Story 47. The current climate is unsettling and not worth engaging in conflict. People are volatile and looking to harm others. Just focus on getting home safely. It's not worth the risk. Story 48. There are people looking to start a fight and they are armed. It is best to walk away from anything that could escalate. You do not have to be a hero and defend your honor. Instead, defend your life by avoiding being drawn into a trap with a dangerous individual carrying a weapon. You are under no obligation to engage in random violence against you. Story 49. That's about what I would have done too. People don't stop being difficult just because you confront them. Story 50. Walk away. It is never worth getting into a street fight, even if you train and can likely win. I am confident I can handle myself in most situations, but there are many unhinged individuals out there, and I'm not going to take that risk. I would rather just walk away and let them think that I'm weak. You gain nothing from winning and nothing from losing. Sometimes you want to put people in their place, but people who start conflicts are often delusional and lacking in judgment, so a beating will probably do nothing to them. What I will never understand is how individuals who have no idea how to fight often think they are skilled fighters. It's like me walking onto a basketball court and expecting to make every shot. Fighting is a skill. Story 51. Yes, you made the right choice. There is no point in participating in a conflict that you do not care about. You enjoyed some Chipotle and made a wise decision. Well done. Story 52. Something upset him, and he was searching for a reason to confront someone. There is no justification for getting physical with anyone, except for the protection of your own life or someone else's. Story 53. You did the right thing. I am a large person who knows how to defend himself, and I will try to walk away from a street confrontation whenever possible. I have a lot to lose. They may not. Story 54. I once walked into a Jimmy John's on my lunch break and saw a homeless man I had seen around town sitting at a booth eating a sandwich. I made eye contact with him, and he started growling and barking at me like a dog guarding his food. On a side note, he also had the word bitch tattooed on his forehead, so I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was. Story 55. I wouldn't have confronted him, but I always carry a gun, so I'm always trying to de-escalate. The last thing I need is to end up shooting someone in self-defense, especially with cameras capturing me following him after being disrespected regarding the door. That wouldn't look good for me. Story 56. It is not worth it. I know it is tempting, but you will never know what will happen. He may upset the wrong person eventually. Story 57. We all create significant challenges for ourselves in life. I would guess that his self-created challenges will be more destructive than your self-created challenges. Story 58. The smart thing is to always walk away. With that in mind, I would most likely ask him if he had an issue with me. Story 59. This reminds me of a situation I had about 5 years ago. I was in a Jollibee, ordering at the counter, when a man shoved me from behind. I turned around to see a large Asian man dressed like a gang member. He looked at me and said, "Sorry." I sat down with my food, and he kept staring at me while mumbling. I had no idea what triggered him, but I wasn't about to confront him. He was likely on drugs. Story 60. I am not sure of your age, but I am almost 50, and walking away from situations like this gets easier as you grow older. It would have been nearly impossible for me to walk away when I was under 30. I simply did not care back then. Now, my perspective has changed, and I care in a different way. You may second-guess yourself for a moment regarding such decisions. It is difficult not to, but you made the right choice. Story 61. You handled the situation perfectly, just as any experienced fighter would have. Even mixed martial arts practitioners advise walking away if someone tries to provoke you. It's not worth it. A street fight is nothing like a match in a cage. The risks for everyone involved are extremely high, including potential lawsuits, arrests, and even death. You never know if someone is armed. They could be carrying a knife, and even if you manage to get them to the ground, they might pull it out and stab you. You did well. Don't let your ego or anyone else convince you otherwise. Story 62. You are not hurt and still alive, so yes, you did the right thing. It is best to avoid fighting if you can. Story 63. Only engage in a fight if it is absolutely necessary. There is nothing admirable about fighting. The other person could have had a weapon. You could have lost your job or been arrested. Ignoring that conflict was the right choice. Story 64. I worked as a bouncer during college. People who start trouble often end up needing dental care the next morning. I've seen it 100 times. I usually just walk away and smile unless that person is within striking distance. You did the right thing. You don't know what the person has just taken in terms of drugs or what he has in his back pocket. Story 65. Your reaction was great. Not getting drawn into posturing or confrontation may seem weak, but it is the best move. I would only fight if someone physically attacked me, and I spend 3 to 5 days a week training in self-defense. Story 66. I would have knocked him out. I really doubt that his level of anger and unhinged violence is comparable to mine. I used to hurt people for a living and became much more violent when it was personal. It's worse. Hit them fast, hit them as hard as you can, and don't stop until they're barely breathing. Don't talk, don't threaten, and don't monologue. Life isn't a movie. Just do it. Story 67. Only fight when it's necessary. You can die, get seriously hurt, could kill someone, or go to jail, and none of that is worth it. Story 68. Generally, do not engage in fights unless necessary. Consider your chances of winning, but also think about the consequences of victory. Sure, you may defeat the aggressor, but then you will have to explain to law enforcement why someone is injured, and you may find yourself in a situation longer than if you had walked away. At times, however, standing up for others is essential. We should appreciate those who confront bullies, but it is often true that good deeds can lead to unexpected repercussions. Story 69. Walk away. You have everything to lose, while some people have nothing to lose. It is not a fair fight, and you will always end up at a disadvantage. You made the right decision. Story 70. You did well. You owe strangers nothing. I can say that some individuals often do not want to confront others. They are often just all talk and no action. Story 71. As opposed to what? Fighting a complete stranger for absolutely no gain? I hate to break it to you, but even if you had beaten this man, you would have gained nothing, and it likely would come with mental, physical, or legal consequences. Real life isn't some action movie. You get no rewards for defending an imaginary concept of honor. Story 72. Never fight someone unless you have absolutely no choice left. If it happens, do everything you can to ensure you win. That person sounds unhinged. You did the right thing. Story 73. Sometimes a person is just looking to fight the world. Well done on walking away. I'm sure all the open carry permit holders would have confronted him. Be the better person and walk away. He will still be the same tomorrow. Story 74. You did the right thing. Everyone is discussing your uncertainty about whether they have a weapon, friends, or if you might end up in jail for fighting, and they are correct. However, it is even worse. That person appears to be a drug addict, and it's possible they have some diseases. The chances are high that both of you could bleed. Now you may have that disease. Just walk away. It's never worth it. Story 75. You did the right thing. There are some terrible people out there who do awful things. Who knows, he may have had a gun or a knife and could have harmed you if you had approached him. Congratulations on walking away and avoiding a lot of potential trouble and danger. Story 76. You did the right thing. You could have been on drugs or had a weapon. The last thing you want is to end up on a metal slab. Unless you are backed into a corner, then you fight with everything you have. Story 77. As someone who has had to use deadly force before, I stay away from others and am always the first to say I'm sorry. It's not worth getting hurt. Story 78. Having the strength to walk away from a potential fight is just as important as knowing how to handle yourself in a fight. You made the right decision by avoiding someone who, as you described, was unhinged and looking for a reason to engage. Story 79. It is not worth your time or the potential consequences of retaliating against someone who does not deserve to share the same air as you. Story 80. Man, just last night, this guy who lives in my neighborhood evidently thought I cut him off when turning from the main road. I was actually trying to let him get into the passing lane since he missed the turn. I had just come from the gym and was feeling energized. He blew by me and honked his horn, so I just continued home. He turned into the street I was entering, thought I was following him, and got out of his car to start yelling. Now, I'm not saying I was right, but I made sure he wasn't carrying a weapon and I got out of my car. I'm not the biggest guy, but I lift regularly and had that post-workout adrenaline. I've been in several fights over the years, especially when I was younger, but he was much taller and heavier. When I got out, He ran back to his car, shut the door, and started screaming at me. I asked him what his problem was, and he was completely unhinged. I asked him what he wanted to do, fight or something else. He said, "I'd knock you out," while sitting in his car. My boldness got the better of me, and I told him to come and show me. He didn't and wouldn't, even after I told him to either get out of his car or drive home. He called me a bald-headed jerk. I shaved my head, and I called him a fat jerk before he drove off. Here's the interesting part. A police officer was watching the entire encounter. After the guy left, the officer came over and asked what happened. I explained, and he told me to be careful. Then he left, and I headed home. I stopped at a stop sign to read a text when I heard yelling again. It was the guy from the car. He thought I followed him. I said, "I live here." He replied, "I do too." "Yes, I know. You're in your driveway yelling at me." I went home and thought about it. I felt bad because I could have seriously hurt the guy, and I regretted some of the things I'd said. This was way out of character for me. I got in my car and drove back to his house. He was still outside. I walked up to him, shook his hand, and apologized for whatever he thought I'd done to him. That completely diffused the situation. The younger me would have reached through his car window and confronted him aggressively. It's remarkable how the presence of an observing officer can change the dynamic. He seemed scared and wasn't going to do anything. He kept creating distance and got in his car when he saw me get out of mine. I put my ego aside and stayed out of jail. Story 81. Normally, you only want to engage in a confrontation if there is some benefit to doing so. What was the benefit here? Were there many attractive individuals observing? Consider asking yourself, what is the benefit of confronting this person versus the possible drawback of losing the fight? Weigh the chances of gains against the chances of losses. Another factor to consider is whether you are in the right. Why is the confrontation occurring? You need to be very objective and unbiased about this. If you are in the wrong, then starting a fight is a very bad idea. You should generally only engage in a fight when you are absolutely confident that justice is on your side unequivocally. Story 82. Seriously, walk away with, at a minimum, your teeth and jawbone still in place. At worst, you have a knife through your lung, heart, or across your carotid artery, and you have bled out in 10 seconds. None of your friends or family would say, "At least he had his false pride intact when he went." Walk away, man. Walk away every time. Story 83. Always avoid a fight. I know a person who punched an aggressive individual. The person fell backwards, hit their head, and died, and the one who punched went to prison. Story 84. What do you mean he slammed the door on you? Did you follow him trying to sneak through and he didn't see you? Or were you too close? This post is very immature. Are you from China? Story 85. I usually say, "Pardon you," and then they respond. I then come back with something wittier. We go back and forth a couple of times, leaving them looking increasingly foolish when they speak. Eventually, the physical threats start. When that happens, and it almost always does, I say, "Talk about it, be about it. I am standing right here and only have a couple of minutes left. Are you going to keep talking and looking foolish, or are you ready to get arrested, sent to the hospital, and look even worse than you do now? I need a payday. Feel free to give me one." If they continue to talk, I simply leave them and go about my business. If they choose to escalate to assault, most of the time I can handle them physically. However, nowadays, if I cannot handle them physically, I have something on me that can. So far, I have not had to use it, but I have no qualms about doing so if someone chooses to attack me and I have no choice. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.